Welcome to Charts Today. My name's David Linton, and today's edition for Thursday, the 7th of June, comes to you from London. And we start by looking at the dollar sinking lower this morning on a stronger euro, really. So we are seeing this downside target of nearly 2% activated. So short-term dollar weakness showing through. Of course, the medium term is still strong. And if we look at the euro, we see that rising this morning, mostly on news that in Spain a very pro-Euro European cabinet has been appointed, so that is helping the euro this morning. And looking at the Japanese yen, we're seeing the dollar strength here actually continuing, so it's too early to say whether that dollar weakness is going to continue on other currencies. Looking at sterling against the dollar, it's rising this morning, sitting at about 135, so looking quite good there. Of course, still long-term, medium-term bearish. And looking at the euro sterling rate, we see euro has the upper hand here this morning as well. And against the Swiss franc, sterling is relatively flat the last couple of days, and against the Aussie dollar, just increasing slightly back up through the cloud on the short-term chart, but still looking bearish medium-term. Bitcoin is up slightly this morning, up 0.5%, so looking a little bit better short term. We do have a new upside target of 8,150. That's some 5.8% higher, but we need to, of course, pull back and then move higher to activate that target. And the same is true of the short medium term chart. There's a target of 16%, but we need to move quite a bit higher to activate that. So the picture is still very mixed for Bitcoin. Looking at US stock markets, last night we had the S&P 500 index up 0.85%, so looking stronger here. Still not making new all-time highs yet, though. The Nasdaq Composite is making new all-time highs, the Nasdaq 100, so tech is very much leading this charge, and we are seeing new upside targets on the longer-term chart. So US recovery in stocks looking pretty strong now. And looking at the Dow, we see that is also just moving above the cloud on the medium-term chart now, so looking better there as well. Still not making new highs like the Nasdaq. And if we look at the broader base Russell index, that is making new highs with good upside targets. Looking at the future, the S&P future is up very slightly this morning, 0.2%. And if we look at the Nasdaq E-mini, that's up just under 0.2% as well. Does suggest that US markets will open higher today. We do have an upside target here of 6% on that short-term chart for the E-mini. The UK market has actually been lagging of late. We see just pushing higher at the moment, and the same with mid-caps, so starting to improve there as well. The German DAX is up this morning about 1/3%, so looking stronger here too, but just still not quite through on the short-term chart. And the CAC 40 also just has work to do to get back into that bullish position. So Europe still not looking great. That recovery is mostly tech-based in the US, and we're not seeing it filtering through. Looking at the Japanese market, just starting to come through the cloud, up nearly 2/3% overnight. On the short-term chart, just looking better. The Hang Seng actually looking better on the medium-term charts as well. The Chinese market down slightly, still lagging, and still a major worry for global markets. The Chinese market still looking quite bearish. So it's really tech that is leading the charge. And if we look at the Sensex, that was up over 1% overnight, so that's looking pretty strong in India as well. The Aussie market was up 0.5% and has broken through the cloud on the short term as well to be bullish. Brent crude is stuck at around this $75, $76 area, and we are still short-term bearish there, although we don't really have any clear downside targets. The medium-term downside target to 67 not activated here, so still looking pretty strong there. WTI sitting at $65 this morning, so we are seeing that spread opening out to about $11 on Brent WTI. Quite interesting there. US nat gas sitting at $2.91, and we are just seeing today storage numbers will be quite key. Can we get back to that $3 mark? We've got targets to $3. Can we get there? Taking a look at gold. You would have thought on the weaker dollar that gold might actually be breaking 1300 this morning, but it's not yet. We are still bullish on the short-term chart. We do have an upside target of 1317. We also do have a downside target of 1276. So the picture is still mixed on the short-term chart. The longer-term chart still looking pretty bullish. And silver actually looking a bit stronger than gold at the moment, breaking quite significantly above the cloud there on the short-term chart. We do probably just need to break this $17 level, and then silver could really move. Looking at US Treasury yields, sitting at 2.98%, we're just ticking back up, getting back towards this 3% level. And of course, we're waiting for a new high on bond yields to activate this very big upside target of 3.83% in the US 10-year. We also do have this target here of 3.14% on the short-term chart, and if we move higher, it looks like we'll activate that. That's a further 5% upside in yields. That would take us to activate the bigger upside target. So the US interest rate story still pretty much the same. And German bonds falling this morning, bond yields rising, so that's quite key. Just taking a look at the US tech giants, we've got Apple rising higher again. They're up 1/3% overnight, so still looking strong, closing at new all-time highs and activating some very big upside targets, some 25-33%. Amazon pushing higher as well, although last night it was flat. Google, which has been lagging, just pushing below the cloud. So that jump we saw last week is really just improving matters, and we are just seeing that rise now coming through on Google. Facebook sitting in the low 190s. Having broken 190, we're holding that level, so that's quite key. But just struggling to push much higher. We did touch as high as 195 there at one point. And then Microsoft, last of all, has been really looking very strong now that we've broken that $100 mark, pushing higher again at 102.50 last night, so that's looking pretty good too. That's it for today. Until tomorrow, happy charting. See you then.